Jill. Jill, hello.
Hello.
Hang on, Jill. Let me go to Peter first, and then I'll come to you.
Why? Jill's right there. Why not just talk to Jill first and then go to the other guy? Like, you don't know what Jill's going to say. You don't know what the other guy's going to say. Oh, in fact, the only way you could make that decision is if you did know what they were going to say. And the only way that could be the case is if they've both got scripts. And the director has told you, no, this script first, then the next script that wants to follow this one. Otherwise, he'd just be talking to Jill.
Peter, good afternoon.
Hey, Ben, how are you?
Good, mate. You didn't see the man attempting to stab people in the city and stabbing the woman, but I gather you saw a little bit straight after that.
Now, I said in the previous video with Witness 1 Gay that when you go to the switch, they get details off you. So they just want to verify that you were there and basically that, the information that you're going to give is from a perspective that you at least have some knowledge. But they don't actually ask you, they don't go into detail as to what you're going to say. So there's no way the switch conveyed that information that Ben Fordham has just reread to him. That's meant to be discovered during the interview, but this is a script.
Well, I saw him with a knife in his hand, and that's pretty heavy scene, and chasing a guy. There was a bit, no one's really commented, but there was a large Islander guy, probably around about 24, 25 years of age.
Now, he just said there nobody else has mentioned the Islander guy. Now, he couldn't possibly know that unless he listened to every single radio station simultaneously and watched every single news bulletin that's up to date on that. Then he would know that. But, of course, he doesn't, yet he says it. But it's actually true. Nobody else has mentioned the Islander guy. Even though he couldn't possibly know that to be true. It is true. That's because he's the one reading the script on the Islander guy. Nobody else. They've all got other scripts to read.
He was running for his life. Someone contained him, and he fell over a barricade, and I thought, gee, this is very strange. People yelling, screaming, and a fireman running down the street with an axe. So when you take on board all of that, it's a pretty harrowing experience, and you see this guy wielding a knife, taken to ground, and then everyone was subduing him and, keeping him contained.
Well, this guy doesn't give his exact location, doesn't give any street names or anything, or even a shop. I was out the front of this shop or this whatever. But he's describing the scene of the arrest. So presumably he's either run with them or been at that scene, but we can sort of tie him to at least where the arrest took place.
So just tell me about the large Islander bloke.
Well, he was being chased, and he was running for his life. There was no doubt about it. And people there's a frenzy underway because people aren't sure who's who in the zoo.
Doesn't this guy only know what he knows? Why is he speaking about what everyone else knows or doesn't know?
And we didn't know whether he was also someone trying to assault people or stab them. And a guy manhandled him, and he fell over one of those one of those concrete barricades, and then was contained, and the fellow realised he was safe, and then he ran away. So I think he was just absolutely running for his life, this guy. He was as scared as anything.
Now, Ben Fordham specifically asked, tell us about the Islander guy. So this Islander fictitious character has been inserted in, and all that antics that he just said didn't happen. Or if it did, it was just a couple of idiots acting it out. It wasn't real. Is to try and drum up that it was a complete and utter, rampage, panic, fear, because he's saying, people don't know who's who, and the guy was running for his life, so that's what this is about.
Petrified.
There were some firefighters from Drummoyne who were in the city. They just happened to be there when all of this unfolded. We know that they jumped in and lent a hand, and you saw one of them carrying an axe.
Oh, Ben Fordham is so skilled. So he had to talk over the top of his guests. He's not listening to him anymore because they've got a script to follow. And this part of the script is about, I don't know how he knows where the firefighters were from or even if it's relevant, but they're from Drummoyne and they happen to be in the city. So that's where we're at now, is in the script reading. So just get back on that, or I'll talk over the top of you again. That's what Ben Fordham is essentially saying.
Chasing the bloke down the street.
It was an axe, man. I tell you what, it was. If this guy hadn't been contained in those meters, because he had a free run in front of him, he would have got under 333 George Street and near the light rail there, and would have been able to go up to naturally Martin Place. So they got him.
And naturally Martin Place. Now, he doesn't know any of that. That's all been scripted because they're trying to make out like these heroes saved so many other people because he was going to get to Martin Place, and oh my God, that was where the Link Cafe siege was. So that's what that little part of the script that he's just mentioned there. Oh, 333 George Street, naturally up to Martin Place. They got him just in time.
And it was just that he was running so quickly and people were chasing from different angles trying to say, well, what's going on here? And, yeah, mate, the knife was a real knife. I've got to tell you, it wasn't some little, you said earlier, it's a fair dinkum knife.
Yeah, well, that's why early reports were suggesting the man was carrying a machete because, based on the latest angle I've seen on it, it looks at least 30 centimetres long, right?
You betcha, and it fell out of his hand. And
did you hear that? The knife fell out of his hand. And then a milk crate was on his head. There's no that. Did someone knock the knife out of his hand? Did someone grapple with him? Was there a struggle? Was there a near stabbing as he was? No. The knife fell out of his hand. So the guy was running and it fell. So that explains how he was subdued because you don't get to see that. And interestingly, the cops stayed out of that. There's big reason why they've got this citizen's arrest going on.
And I thought, they've got a milk crate over his head and throat. So that was containing his head. They got what?
Containing his head. Was he got a headbutt him? What's his head going to do? Oh, look, whoever came up with the milk crate in whatever, the table reading or wherever the idea came up, that guy's getting a big bonus. That was pure genius. I can't. All these other hoax stages around the world are going, what did we think of the milk crate? You can see his face, yet he's contained. It's an absolute genius.
Fellow on each, there were probably about 4 or 5 people trying to pin him down. And I'll tell you what, he had some strength. He was a pretty wiry sort of bloke. There was not much to him. And he must have been on something. I don't know what he was on, but he had a fair bit of strength. And he was really putting up a fight there. But with the milk crate and chair restraining him and fellows on each limb, it was containing him. And people were unknown whether he was the only one as well.
Mm.
Again, he's talking about what other people are thinking. Well, people, like he might have been unknown. That's strange terminology to use. Anyway, Ben Fordham didn't like him to say that. Ben Fordham did his, Whenever you hear Ben Fordham go, he's it's going off track. He's got to sort it out.
What an afternoon, Peter, and what heroes.
So Ben Fordham just sets up for this guy to do his next spiel. He doesn't ask him a question. He goes, what heroes? Over to you.
Well, they are, Ben. There's no doubt about it. And, and it could have been a lot worse than what it was. And not every day do you see a fireman running down the street with an axe yelling at someone to stop. And then you've got so many other moving parts to it. It's very harrowing. Right in the centre of the city, right outside our building. And I just pray to God that woman is okay. And that's an unknown at the moment, I suppose.
Yeah, no, she's going to be okay. But, Peter, you've summed it up really well. Thank you so much for coming on.
God bless you, Ben.
Good.
And Peter's got his propaganda out there. And really, that's what this is all about. All the little staging of the running around and all that, that's a minor part. This is where the rubber hits the road on this one. It's the media coverage. It's all set up for the media to then, for probably the next 3 or 4 days, just to imprint in people's minds they've got a lot of things going on here. They touch on terror. They've got the heroes, all this sort of stuff. It's all designed to put things into people's minds.